It wasn't a cricket match at the Wankhede. It was a fusion music concert where you saw Rag Ahir Bhairav being sung, Aram Aram Se, slow and steady. And then you saw a rock concert as well, thanks to the rock star of Afghanistan cricket, Rashid Khan. If it wasn't for him, Simon Doull wouldn't have had the bragging rights that he does now. 291, right on the money, sir.
Not very often that happens, is it? 291, right on the money. Where's my...
Yay!
Two and two, right?
2 and 2.
Two and two.
Aye.
The message went out to Ibrahim Zadran saying, dude, get a move on. So he gets 100 from 131 balls. Next 12, he hits 29. They get 74 of the last 75 odd in the last 6 overs. All to do what? Not to qualify or get 2 points. Just so Dooley gets it right.
Tease me.
96.
But it's a good score now.
Very good,
96 in the last 10. Take a look at this batting card. 291. Match summary. 291 for 5 in 50. Glenn Maxwell gave away 55. I wonder why he bowled that 47th over. Zampa expensive as well. Very rare that you don't see Zampa take 4 wickets in this World Cup. Ibrahim Zadran, the first ever Afghanistan batter to hit a World Cup 100, 129, carried his bat. Rashid Khan scored those 35 invaluable runs, adding some spice to this innings. Rehmat Shah contributing 30, 292 to win. Harsha.
I've noticed a trend at this World Cup. We always measure the last 10.
Yep.
But I've noticed the teams are not going in the last 10. If anything, they actually go in the last 5 or 6. And I just wonder if this is the confidence that comes from playing T20 cricket, saying that I know I can get these in the last 5 overs. Because we were all sitting there saying Afghanistan are falling short. They're probably still a little short. I haven't seen anything to suggest that it'll turn a lot like in that England game. But they've given themselves a serious chance. Of those 96, 65 or whatever, 75 came in the last 6.
Yes.
So they've really got to move on after Rashid came in. And did you see anything to suggest it's gripping or turning?
Not so much, no. Yeah. I mean, and 3 down, what allows them to be able to do that late is 3 down at the 40th over. So 2 and 3 down. So they've paced it, what I think is pretty well. The 100 time will tell whether he was a little bit conservative at stages or through the middle. And if Australia chased this target down in 43, 44, 45 overs, then you'll say that he was too conservative. But I'll just save that judgment till later on, because there was a little bit of turn. There was an element of spin from Maxwell, not much from Zampa, although he does tend to fire it in a little bit more rather than loop it and try and turn it. So very different types of spinners. Nabi will give it a rip. Mujib doesn't really, and Rashid doesn't. He's more like Zampa, but Noor will. Noor will give it a chance to turn. So it'll be very interesting to see what transpires.
Well, this show now has a lot more energy than it would have if it wasn't for Rashid Khan. 35 of 18, 2 fours and 3 sixes. He's just woken everyone up.
Yeah, and a big moment, that catch. A massive moment. The Stoinis catch, non-catch. Took a lot of looking at, didn't it, from Gaffney? But the one thing that I didn't see and Harsha saw, and I think they replayed afterwards, was Stoinis, when he got up, actually gestured, I think we need to look at this. I think we need to look at this on the TV, because he was a little bit sure, maybe?
There's that one replay, wasn't there? All of us thought out, and then just that one replay, we got the feeling it's gone off the right-hand bottom and then picked it up off the left. But he did that immediately.
Yep.
Well, not immediately, once he got up.
The right call seemed to have been made then.
Sorry?
The right call seemed to have been made.
It seems that way. With those, you're never 100% certain, but it seems eventually, given that the fielder wasn't certain, because, the fielder will know if the fingers are underneath.
Yeah.
So whatever.
But what an innings. 35 entertainments, finally, after a bizarre-looking innings, wasn't it, from Zadran?
Well, we're seeing a lot of it in this tournament. The value of not losing wickets and someone building the innings, Suppose Ibrahim Zadran gets out early.
Yep.
And they finish 260 because they've lost too many wickets.
Yep.
So there's 2 ways of looking at it. As Dooley said, let's wait and see if Australia get this easily. But yeah, it looked for a while, especially in the 90s. There's a trend, people are taking a little bit longer. And I think at one point he took about 27, 28 balls to get 19, 20 runs.
Yeah.
That, when you're getting into the 40s, is a little too many. He made up afterwards, but yeah, who's to say if he had not gone a little hard earlier on, he may not have got another 10, 15 himself.
Well, he did end his innings with a strike of 90.
But first 100 and
First,
for
very,
Afghanistan,
very
it's
steep.
great, yeah.
Yes, he hung in there, carried his bat, which is a rarity. Afghanistan also, the story of a team that's lost the least number of wickets in the power play. That seems to have been the plan, and they stuck to it, and it worked well for them.
Yeah, and that's the influence we talked earlier about a little bit, I think, of Jonathan Trott and maybe Ajay Jadeja as well. Just saying, this World Cup, think about the fact that sort of period between 10 and 40, only 4 fielders allowed outside the circle. There are more options to hit over the top, and you can maybe capitalise a little bit more in the late 30s if you do have wickets in hand. I think that's what we're seeing from a few teams throughout this tournament. They're not going incredibly hard. Some of them are, some of them aren't, but they're just making sure they've got some wickets available for that 30 to 40 and then 40 to 50 as well. So it's been played slightly differently in some ways, but their mantra seems to be, if we don't lose wickets up front, we don't put too much pressure on ourselves, we don't worry, we don't put pressure on Nabi and Rashid and that lower middle order to have to dig us out of a hole. Their job is to come in and put the icing on the cake, which is what happened tonight. And that's one of the things.
When South Africa lose wickets early, they struggle. When South Africa are able to build, they're something else. They're a monster side when they can build like that.
309, 399, 357, 399 and 382. The 3 first inning scores at the World Cup. At the Wankhede, 291. I suppose Zadran fans may not want him to take the blame for the fact that they finished below 300. But it seemed to have been the plan. Maybe this was his role to hang in there and bat as long as possible.
Yeah, and all the commentators, to a man and woman, they have said this is a very different surface to what we have seen at the Wankhede so far this tournament. So a lot less grass on it, a lack of grass, and less grass on it, a lack of grass, and you can see more of that red soil. 290. It might be a 310, but time will tell. I mean, they've got a total on the board. What they wanted was a total on the board to bowl to allow their spinners into the game. An early wicket or two, some jitters in that Australian camp. There is no reason why Afghanistan cannot pull off a victory.
Yeah. The way Rahmat Shah and Azmatullah got out, I suppose, Harsha, did it seem from the outside like a plan where one guy goes for it and the other guy stays?
It might have been not so much with Rahmat Shah, but I think the innings really got kick-started after Azmatullah Omarzai came in. Yeah. You notice the shot that Shahidi played, a shot that wasn't the kind of shot he normally plays, but he's 26 of 43. He's already chewed up balls. He had no choice but to do that. Yeah. I think that those 2 sixes that Omarzai hit, I think that sort of really triggered it. So, but Rashid at the end, that shot that he's hit for 6 overs squarely. Yeah. We just want to see it again and again. There's that impishness about him. He'll send the ball to places you don't expect. He's a great fun batter to watch, but I think today he might have made a slight difference, 35 over 8.
Look at the bowling card, and we will talk about whether the Australians got it wrong. It's a strange-looking bowling card where Stark bowled only 9, Hazelwood bowled only 9, Cummins bowled only 8. Simon, what do you make of this bowling card?
Well, Hazelwood in particular, 2 for 39 off 9, bowled superbly and didn't get his 10 done. Travis Head, 3 relatively tidy overs, just that one really good over. That was almost a turning point, that over from Stoinis, because it allowed Zampa to get the wicket in the next over, because he sort of bowled a really tight 6 balls. So it was an interesting, I think Pat Cummins, for the most part in the last 4 or 5 games, has got his bowling pretty much right. He's actually captained the side pretty well in the last 4 or 5 games. Today, maybe Hazelwood could have bowled that 47th instead of Maxwell. It's just 1 or 2 little things. Maybe today he was put under pressure a little bit, but I'm surprised. 9 overs, 2 for 30 odd. You would think that Hazelwood should have finished out.
Yeah, having
47th to Maxwell. Yeah. Strange.
Yeah, but having said that, the message it sends out is you can get runs of this Australian bowling attack.
Yeah.
Afghanistan have made 70 odd in the last 6 overs. You can score runs of this bowling attack. That's the message that's gone out. Who's your death bowler? Who's your Bumrah? Who's your Afridi? Yeah. I don't think that bowler exists in that.
What is Stark's economy rate?
9 over 70.
Yeah. What's his economy through the tournament? Because he hasn't taken the wickets. We sort of talked a little bit about that. Our producer asked me about is his pace down? I sort of wondered. I wanted to get the numbers on whether his pace has been down through the tournament, whether he hasn't just been quite able to nail that 149, 150, 151 pace and really get through batters a little bit quicker.
No, it's a fair point you make, because if you look at Shaheen Shah Afridi, I think his pace actually has gone up as the tournament's gone on. He looked innocuous to start off with. Yeah. And as the pace grew, suddenly that same Yorker, the same in-swinger looked a little more threatening.
Did Australia overcook their bowling plan today? tried 8 bowlers. There was too much happening. Maxwell bowled very well at the start. Then
Maybe
they gave
that's
him the
why he got
47.
Travis Head to bowl 3.
Yep.
Because Maxwell was bowling well, maybe that's why I got Travis Head to bowl 3. And that's why he couldn't finish. But Dooley's right. That extra over to extra couple of overs to Maxwell. Towards the end, he became a little more expensive.
Well, 291 on the board. Rashid Khan has ensured that Afghanistan had the momentum towards the end of the innings. Which dressing room is feeling a little more relaxed at this point?
Well, I think if Afghanistan, if you'd given them 290, 300 at the toss, I think they would have taken it. I think they would have comfortably taken that. They probably would have had their sights set on around about that sort of score. And if they could get a few more, they would have been bonus runs. Australia will feel that they can chase it because they're always confident. We know that with this Australian side. But, you know, pressure does funny things to players. And if there's a way to get Head or Warner early and put a little bit of heat on that middle order, then Afghanistan have got every opportunity. So I think both camps will be feeling relatively comfortable.
Yeah.
Australia, anything under 300 on the surface. Afghanistan, almost 300.
Just thinking how that first wicket comes. If that first wicket comes with Nabi turning it like that, then people are suddenly thinking, oh, he's turned it like that. Yeah. Australia's approach in such situation tends to be to go hard at the bowler and knock them off rather than play around and say, I'll finish like Afghanistan did. Yeah. So if Nabi or Mujib, who was bowling first, Mujib not a big turner, if they can get one to turn and get a wicket, or even just turn, then suddenly this 290 will look different.
Yes, we've spoken a lot about the vibe and the mahal in the Afghan camp. And, well, one guy will have his collar up. First ever centurion for Afghanistan at the World Cup.
Yeah, it's an achievement. Look, they've always been a bowling side. And as Dooley said in our pre-show, what has surprised him is how the batting has grown. So that's a great achievement. I was listening to, I think it was Atherton and there was Ponting. And you respect those views, and they rated that innings very high. So the man on the ground always gets a slightly better idea of how the innings is. But a place in history, 100, your first World Cup century, it's huge. As we said right at the start, time will tell whether the quest for that century ended up producing the right result.
And you're doing it against good sides, and this is the one thing that we've talked about, and I talked about in pre-show, and we mentioned with Afghanistan, winning against good sides. Now they haven't won today, but 100 against a proper Australian side, a good bowling attack, you know, the chase over Pakistan. These are things that we haven't seen enough or any of that from these sides, or from this side in particular, in the last 4 or 5 years. So they're all great steps forward. They really are. And it's, you know, it'll be a magnificent feeling for him, but the feeling diminishes if the team doesn't win. And that's the thing, you know, so they need to now go out and win this game. And if they win this game, then he's higher than the clouds tonight, because that becomes such a great 100. The first one we get in a tournament as an Afghanistan batter, we beat Australia. You know, that becomes then the euphoria of that is exceptional, and it just does more and more for the people at home.
It's almost as if he's asking the bowlers to line up in front of him and say, "Make me look good tonight.
That's
Make me look good tonight."
Much like we do with our makeup guy.
His approach in the first 10 or the first phase of his innings tells us that he was listening very, very attentively to Sachin Tendulkar, who said, just spend time at the wicket and the runs will come. But the impact of this 100, not just on this batting card, but on their cricket at large, will be
If they win, yes.
If they win,
if they win, yes. This will be a colossal win. I mean, beating England. Remember, they beat England early in the tournament. Before England had started that big slide down, was a huge moment for them. And then I thought that was the biggest moment in their white ball history. And then they beat Pakistan chasing 285.
Yeah.
Now, if they win against Australia, stop all talk about Afghanistan and where they came from, and just look upon them and say, wow, you know, you're something else this side. You've grown immeasurably.
Well, 292 to chase, and on this boundaries, David Warner, the bull, could come into play. Now, 200s, I think, and a half century in the last 4 innings. This guy has found form after a slightly iffy start to the World Cup. Clearly, the big fish that Afghanistan will want, but very likely that Warner will go really hard at the Afghanis.
Yeah, well, it's been his way. I mean, Head probably goes harder, which is one of the, you know, now that he's back, I think it was Mitch Marsh's job to probably be the real aggressor in the early parts of the tournament when Head wasn't available. And Warner just goes about his business. He's not one to be overly aggressive. He's not one to be sedate. He just plays his game. And Travis Head actually allows him to play his game by the way that he is really attacking up front. So I expect him to probably be more aggressive than Warner, and Warner to just look to get off to a decent start, and then they'll run hard between the wickets. It's the one thing they do very, very well. But, you know, they're big wickets. It just gives Australia that confidence in that first 5, 6, 7, 8 overs. If Head starts going and Warner can just accompany him, that's what gives him the confidence. If you nip one or two of those out, all of a sudden, that middle order starts to be a bit weary.
What a last few months Travis Head has had. We talk about Daryl Mitchell in New Zealand. Travis Head is a bit like that. He's had an extraordinary last 10 or 12 months, and he's absolutely right. Travis Head will tee off, but Warner will do so too. He's striking at 111 through this World Cup. So it's not that he's hanging around, but occasionally if he finds, the ball's turning, maybe Travis Head's taking a little bit of time, he'll pick it up. That 111, that's a phenomenal strike rate.
Of the 428 Warner has scored so far, only 276 have come from 4s and 6s. So he's prepared to do the hard running
Always
as
runs.
well.
Always runs hard.
I asked him that in the post, the 100 he got the Player of the Match award, and I said to him, I said, what is it about your running between the wickets? Because it's not only some people, and I say this with a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but some people run their own runs a lot harder than they run their mates. Okay? And I said to David Warner, I said, you seem to run your mates as hard, if not harder, than you do your own.
Yeah.
And he said, it's just something I take pride in. You know, something I take absolute pride in is, you know, and you see his joy when the guy at the other end gets 100 or gets runs. When Mitch Marsh got his 100, it was almost David Warner's celebration was bigger.
I remember that.
David Warner's celebration was almost bigger for Mitch Marsh than Mitch Marsh's was.
Was it in that interview he said, I'm making a few people look stupid? He said either the press conference or on the
it might have been the press conference.
He said, I'm making a few people look stupid. But it's the greatest indicator of whether or not you're a genuine team player is how hard you run your partners too. Not as one, your partners too.
Yes.
Because that puts the partner back in strike.
That's it.
Is it the fact that he said he's going to say goodbye to top-level cricket in January? Is that a motivator? Is
he's going to play white ball cricket, isn't he? Is he only retiring from red ball? Is he retiring from everything?
I think internationals as well.
Okay.
I think he's going to be a franchise. He's going to be a franchise player, and you know he's had an incredible career. It's funny. You sit in a commentary box with some Australian greats who the other day there was a conversation about Australia's greatest ever all-3 format player, and he was at the top of the tree.
Is he?
As all format batter, yes. Yeah. Because you look at someone like Haydos, for example, in recent years, one of the great opening batters. Look at Ricky Ponting. We're not talking three forms. They didn't play that much T20. I mean, they were great players. They would have had Haydos came and played very well for Chennai. But consistently since he came in, over 3 forms, you realize he's actually got a very good test career. In the last couple of years, it may be tailed off, but it's a serious career.
And the fact that Australia have won 5 in a row tells you, if you look at the scorecards, when Warner does well, Australia do well as well. So he's such a key part. But what about the Australian middle order now? There have been some struggles there. Today, they'll be up against some quality spin bowling. There is Rashid Khan. There is Noor as well. 768 only from the Australian middle order. They've seen some chopping and changing as well, so it's not looking like a settled middle order, Simon.
No, it's not as settled as they would like to be, I think, at this part of the tournament. And obviously Steve Smith being out with the vertigo makes it a little bit tough. They would have come into the tournament thinking that Alex Carey was probably their batter, their batter keeper. That changed after one game. So there's been a little bit of unsettling nature in that middle order. But that's where I think Afghanistan have an opportunity to expose tonight, but they've got to get through that first 3, even 4, if Labuschagne looks to play a little bit of a role like like the Afghanistan opener played. If they can pick up, go back to it, if they can pick up an early wicket or 2, they will be able to put pressure on this middle order, and they are vulnerable, especially against spin. Maxwell really only knows one way.
He could get himself out some days trying to do the outrageous. English not yet tested against spin, against quality spin. If that ball spins, by the way, English not yet tested. Stoinis hasn't had a big hit in this tournament. He's played little cameos. So that middle order, that is why what Doull is saying is so correct. If you can get into that middle order quickly, pick up 1 or 2 early, this game is wide open. If Australia 70-80 for no loss in the first 10-12 overs, this game is over.
4 spinners. How about starting with 2 spinners?
I don't know. Who's the second? Rashid
Mujib and Nabi?
Mujib and Nabi, maybe?
But I'll tell you one thing. They will go after Mujib.
Yeah.
They will go after Mujib early, but they don't want him to settle with that combination. They will go after Mujib early.
He's got to come around the wicket to the left-handers as well. I don't know whether he's as comfortable doing that because his angle is just not suitable over the wicket to the left-handers, so he tends to come around to the left-handers. And with that new ball, the one thing he does have in his favour, if he gets his line right, it actually swings. He bowls that flicker that swings away from the left-handers. So, look, it's an option. Yeah. I wouldn't be against it at all.
Will Warner bat right-handed?
He may turn around and bat right-handed. The other thing about Fazal Haq is Naveen. He swings the ball across the lefties as well. He can do that. So they do have those options.
Well, a quick look at the Afghanistan 11 as well, which will tell us what the bowling options are. There is Naveen Haq, there is Noor Ahmed, Mujibur Rahman. Rashid Khan's been a story, Simon. Why is he not as effective in this format as he is in T20s? Are they reading him better? Is there too much video evidence available?
Well, there's a lot of video evidence. There is a lot of video evidence, and every time he comes on and bowls a wrong in or a normal leg break, we highlight it on TV and slow it down and split screen it and show every batter around the world. So it's become slightly easier. You still have to play it. You don't have to go after him in 50-over cricket. You don't have to attack Rashid. You will get enough deliveries that you can hit for ones and twos. You'll get the odd ball that you can hit for 4. You can take him for 45, 50. And you don't have to worry about it. In 4 overs, you can't afford to sit on 4 overs in a T20 game.
Yeah.
So when you have to go after Rashid, he's at his best. The best players in world cricket that sort of play Rashid the best, they sweep him.
Yeah.
They sweep him and they sweep him hard. Not necessarily fine, they sweep him to mid-wicket and to square leg.
Can he say to Nabi and Mujib that you guys are picking up wickets because I am bowling what I am bowling?
I don't know what the conversations are. But what I do know is economy rate's all right. He's not picking up wickets. But his economy rate's under 5. So they're playing him out. They're not taking chances against him. If you've got one bowler, your 10 overs bank, and he's going at 4.6, he's still doing all right. I know you want wickets from Rashid, but they're not taking a chance. They're just going 4.6 and over.
Is there a certain crossroad in his career where he'll think maybe I need to upgrade my skills? Can that happen?
You have to all the time anyway in life.
Yeah.
You have to keep upgrading because people get to know you better. As a batter, you've got to find different shots because otherwise they'll just set the field for you, and then what do? You've got to keep finding different shots. So every bowler's got to find different ways of doing it. So he will.
I don't know how much ODI cricket Afghanistan are playing over the next couple of years, but there's so much T20 cricket coming up.
Nobody is.
No, I think you're right.
And so that shouldn't worry him so much, right?
No, not at the moment. And as I say, Harsha just mentioned it. Look, he's creating opportunities because he's bowling so tightly and going at 4.6. He's probably creating opportunities at the other end, and he might be sitting there going, "Geez, I'm not getting wickets," but Noor's getting them or Nabi's getting them.
Yeah.
So it's still about that team environment, and if they're sitting on you, they're going to have to take a risk against others, and therefore Noor might get 4 for 60 and Rashid might get none for 40.
Yeah.
But that's actually a good combination. You know, don't underestimate the combination of bowling for the guy at the other end as well. That's why what you don't want to see from a spinner who's gone, 0-1 or .1.1, and he goes bang, bang, fires 2 and goes for another single or a dot, then the guy at the other end has a chance to pick up the wickets.
Afghanistan seemed to bring Rashid on in the 14th, 15th over. Is there a case for him to be brought in a little bit earlier?
I don't know what he's comfortable with that. He's not the only bowler. Different players have different roles to play. So actors enter the stage at different stages in a production. So they believe that is when he is most effective. That if he bowls earlier on, he may not be that effective. So if that's a role he's comfortable with, but more important, if it's a role the team is comfortable with, it's okay because of what Mujib does. Yeah. Because Mujib bowls early, they can bowl Rashid where he wants. And now if you notice, Rashid is getting into the 41st, 42nd as well sometimes.
Yeah.
Earlier he just bowled through the middle. Yeah. So the roles keep.
The other thing is I think that he's probably better equipped, the size of his hands and his fingers and the strength, he's probably better equipped to bowl with a slightly wetter ball. So don't be surprised if he's left even a little bit later tonight and Noor comes in a bit earlier. He and Nabi are probably the two better equipped to bowl with a slightly more damp ball than Mujib and Noor. So don't be surprised if Noor bowls a little bit earlier and Rashid's kept a little bit later in case that dew is relevant later on in the evening.
Well,
keep your eyes out. Yep. Keep your eyes open for the dew. That could be. Yesterday they changed the ball.
Yeah.
There was so much dew in Delhi, they changed the ball. But keep your eyes open for the dew.
Also for Pakistan fans, it's the same ball that's given to every team. So
it's only the odd Pakistan fan. Come on.
Not
Only
every.
odd, right? No.
No, but well, spin to win seems to be the mantra for Afghanistan. They've beaten, former world champions, Australia, Sri Lanka, England. That's what the spinners do. That's what the result is when they win. So clearly, Afghanistan will rely on their spin quartet. Australia have got to figure a way to not lose wickets to these.
Yeah, they've got to figure a way to, I mean, as Harsha said, I think 70, 80 without loss in the first 10 if Travis Head gets off to a flyer, if Warner's playing nicely. You know, the heads will start to fall a little bit, I think, in that Afghanistan camp, and the Australian belief just goes through the roof. And the other thing we've talked, and I've tried to bang it into people's heads about the dew, it's not there until around about that 20th over, 25th over, is when it really takes effect. It might be slightly damp leading through that 15th, but it doesn't really come about until sort of 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening. So often what we've seen in the second innings of games is teams are 4 down, 5 down before it actually has an opportunity. That's what Bangladesh did so well last night. They were actually just played through to a time where all of a sudden it was very wet and the game became easy.
Yeah.
It became easy. So Australia still have to keep that in mind as well, that if they get to the 30th over, if they need 7 or 8 and over, it actually doesn't matter from that point on. It can be done at that ground. We've seen it be done. So.
Yes, remember what India did to Sri Lanka. It was pretty much over before the dew set in. They've beaten England, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. Maybe it's Australia tonight, or is it?
I'll tell you what, if this gets close and the Afghan spinners start bowling well, you don't stop what you're doing and watch. Because they've given themselves a chance. As we said, most teams, you make 291 on a typical 1K surface. You make 291, you're thinking you're 35 under.
Yeah.
It's just because we think it's a little drier today. But remember, we haven't seen anything from either Zampa or Maxwell to suggest batting is going to be really difficult. I mean, when you saw Maharaj the other day, you said just wait till Jadeja comes and the game is over.
Yep.
You cannot yet say that today.
10 over score.
I'm actually going, what I said, 68.
I think they'll lose a wicket or two now. I honestly do. So I'm going to say 54.
I'm very bullish on Australia. I'll go with 80.
Oi.
For one, maybe.
Well done.
Yeah, 80. 80 it shall be. You can share your scores as well on Twitter. Remember to use hashtag AskCricbuzz as well in case you have any questions apart from the timed out bit, because we've settled that issue already in the pre-show. So ask away your questions to Mr. Bhogle and to Mr. Simon Doull. We will be back at the end of the match, but make sure you join us on Cricbuzz Combox after 15. Bye-bye.